The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, sandwiched between a pharmacy coupon and my student loan payment reminder. The subject line read, Family Meeting, Important Financial Decision. I stared at it for a long moment before clicking, coffee growing cold in my hand. My parents wanted to discuss distributing some assets and requested I come to dinner that Saturday. The formal tone should have been my first warning. Mom usually just called, her voice bright and chattering, asking when I'd visit next. This felt different, clinical, prepared. I was 28 years old, working as a social worker in Philadelphia, living in a modest one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood where car alarms served as my nightly lullaby. My younger sister, Melissa, was 25, recently graduated from business school, and living in our parents' renovated basement in the suburbs while she figured things out. The contrast wasn't lost on me, but I'd never let it bother me. We'd chosen different paths, that was all. Saturday arrived with autumn rain, the kind that turns suburban lawns into watercolor paintings. I drove the 40 minutes to my childhood home, watching the neighborhoods gradually improve, the houses growing larger, the cars and driveways newer. According to YouTube analytics, 99% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. By the time I pulled up to the familiar Colonial with its perfectly maintained hedges, I felt the old familiar tightness in my chest, the feeling of not quite measuring up that I thought I'd outgrown. Melissa's Tesla was in the driveway. Of course it was. I'd forgotten she'd bought it last month. A gift to herself for landing some entry-level position at a consulting firm. She'd posted about it endlessly on social media, posing against the gleaming white paint, hashtagging her way through gratitude and hustle culture. Inside, the house smelled like Mom's pot roast. Dad sat in his leather armchair, reading glasses perched on his nose, scrolling through his iPad. He looked up and nodded. Alex, you made it. Traffic wasn't bad, I said, shrugging off my rain jacket. It was old, fraying at the cuffs. I noticed Mom noticing. Dinner was pleasant enough on the surface. We talked about the weather, about Dad's golf game, about Mom's book club. Melissa arrived late, breezing in with apologies about a networking event that had run over. She wore designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her hair was professionally highlighted, her nails perfectly manicured. She looked successful, polished, everything I apparently wasn't. After dessert, Dad cleared his throat. So, we should discuss why we asked you both here. My stomach tightened. Mom glanced at Melissa, then at me, her expression unreadable. Your mother and I have been doing some financial planning, Dad began, his voice taking on the authoritative tone he used in his accounting firm. We're not getting any younger, and we want to make sure we're setting you girls up for success. I waited. Melissa smiled, her hands folded neatly on the table. We've decided to make a substantial investment in Melissa's future, Mom said, her words careful, rehearsed. She has an incredible opportunity to buy into her firm as a junior partner. It's a chance that only comes once, and we want to make sure she can take advantage of it. We're giving her $150,000, Dad said flatly. It's an early inheritance, essentially, an investment in her career. The number hung in the air like smoke. I felt my face go numb. That's wonderful, I managed, looking at Melissa. Congratulations. She had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. Thanks, Alex. I know it's a lot, but this partnership track could really set me up. The returns could be significant in just a few years. We know you've chosen a different path, Mom said, and there it was, the subtle blade of judgment wrapped in silk. Social work is very noble, but it's not exactly lucrative, is it? I'm helping people, I said quietly, kids in foster care, families in crisis. Of course you are, dear, Mom said, her smile tight. But you have to think practically. Melissa is positioning herself for real success. She's being smart about her future. And you're not? The words escaped before I could stop them. Dad frowned. Don't be defensive, Alex. We're being honest. You're living paycheck to paycheck, working a job that will never pay more than $40,000 or $50,000 a year. You have student loans you'll be paying off until you're 50. We gave you the same education we gave Melissa. And look at the different choices you made. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the edge of the table. We can't bail you out every time things get tough, Mom added. This is about investing in someone who's shown they can make something of themselves. Every time, I repeated, I've never asked you for money, not once since I graduated. But you will, Dad said matter-of-factly. Social workers always do. It's an unstable field. We're making a strategic decision here. Melissa shifted in her seat. Maybe we could talk about this differently. No, it's fine, I interrupted, my voice eerily calm. I understand perfectly. I understood that they saw me as a failure, a bad investment, someone who'd wasted their money on education, who'd chosen passion over profit, who'd never amount to anything in their eyes. I understood that Melissa, with her networking events and Tesla and designer clothes, represented everything they valued, and I represented disappointment. We knew you'd be upset, Mom said, sighing, but you need to grow up and face reality, Alex. The world doesn't reward idealism. It rewards results. I stood slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Thank you for dinner. Alex, Melissa started. Congratulations on your partnership, I said. I mean that. I hope it works out exactly how you want it to. I walked out into the rain without my jacket, barely registering the cold. Behind me, I heard Dad say, always so dramatic, and Mom's responding murmur of agreement. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for their approval. I wasn't going to argue or plead my case. I wasn't going to explain that I'd found a foster boy a permanent home last week, or that I'd helped a teenage mother get her GED, or that my work mattered in ways that couldn't be measured in dollars. They'd made their judgment clear, so I would simply step away. I started small. When Mom called the following Tuesday, I didn't answer. When she texted asking if I was okay, I sent back a brief, "Fine, busy with work." When the family group chat buzzed with plans for Thanksgiving, I muted the conversation. Weeks passed. I threw myself into my work with renewed intensity. There was a case that had been troubling me, a 9-year-old girl named Sophie, whose foster placement kept falling through. She was bright, creative, and completely convinced she was unlovable because 3 families had sent her back. I saw something of myself in her fierce independence, her determination not to need anyone. I spent extra hours researching, making calls, attending meetings. I found a specialized foster family, trained in trauma-informed care, who'd been looking for an older child. The match was perfect. When Sophie learned she'd be staying, that this family wanted to adopt her, she cried in my office for 20 minutes. Then she drew me a picture of a rainbow and wrote, "Thank you for not giving up," in careful letters. I kept that picture. On hard days, I looked at it and remembered why I'd chosen this path. Meanwhile, radio silence from my family felt like breathing clean air for the first time in years. I hadn't realized how much energy I'd been spending trying to prove myself worthy of their respect. Without that pressure, I felt lighter, freer. Melissa texted me occasionally. "Mom and Dad are worried about you. Can we talk? I miss you." I responded with polite brevity, never engaging deeply. She was complicit in their judgment, accepting that money while they called me a failure. I couldn't muster warmth for her. Months rolled by. Winter gave way to spring. I received a promotion at work, a small one, but it came with a modest raise and a new title, Senior Case Manager. My supervisor, a woman named Janet who'd been in social work for 30 years, told me I was the best hire they'd made in a decade. I went home and cried happy tears, wishing I had family who'd celebrate with me. Then one evening in April, my phone rang. Melissa. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Alex," her voice was strained, "we need to talk." "What's wrong?" "It's about the partnership, the firm. There were some irregularities, financial irregularities." My stomach dropped. "What kind of irregularities?" "The senior partners were running a scheme, inflating client billables, misrepresenting assets. The SEC is investigating. It's all falling apart." Her voice cracked. "My partnership buy-in is gone, Alex. All of it. The firm's going into receivership. I'm going to be lucky if I don't face charges myself." I sat down slowly. "Did you know about the fraud?" "No. I swear, I had no idea. But I signed documents. I'm implicated just by association. My lawyer says I'll probably be okay. But my reputation is destroyed. No one in consulting will touch me now. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Despite everything, she was still my sister. Mom and Dad are devastated, she continued. They keep saying they should have kept that money, that they threw it away on me. Dad calculated how much investment return they lost. Mom won't stop crying. The irony was almost too perfect. They'd invested in what they thought was a sure thing, the smart choice, the strategic decision, and it had evaporated like morning mist. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know. Move back home, I guess. The Tesla's being repossessed. I had to sell most of my stuff to pay legal fees. She laughed bitterly. Remember when they said social work was unstable? At least you still have a job. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, processing. I felt no satisfaction, no smug vindication. Just a deep, sad sense of inevitability. They'd valued all the wrong things, and the universe had provided a harsh lesson. 2 weeks later, Mom called. I answered. Alex, her voice was small, unfamiliar. I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. We were wrong. The words came out in a rush. About everything. About you, about your choices, about what matters. We were so sure we knew what success looked like, and we were cruel to you because you chose differently. And now you see that money isn't security, I finished gently. Melissa lost everything. We lost everything we gave her. And you're still there, doing your work, helping people. You're stable. You're happy, aren't you? I am, I said truthfully. Your father wants to apologize too. He's been sick over this, though he won't admit it. Seeing Melissa so devastated, knowing we encouraged her down this path, she trailed off. Would you consider coming to dinner? Please, we want to make things right. I thought about it, thought about all the months of silence, the peace I'd found, the life I'd built without their approval. I thought about Sophie's rainbow drawing and Janet's praise, and the families I'd reunited, and the children I'd helped save. I don't think so, I said finally. Not yet, maybe not for a while. Alex, you didn't just give Melissa money, Mom. You told me I was a failure. You said my choices were wrong, that my work didn't matter, that I'd never amount to anything. You made it clear I wasn't worth investing in. That hurt more than the money ever could have. I know. We were horrible. We were wrong. I believe you, but forgiveness takes time. I need you to understand that you can't just apologize and expect everything to be fine. You broke something, and it's going to take a long time to repair. There was a long pause. Then, quietly, we understand. We'll wait, however long it takes. After that, things shifted slowly. Dad sent me a card, an actual handwritten card, apologizing for his harsh words and saying he was proud of the work I did. Mom started texting occasionally with articles about social work, about the importance of community services, about the foster care crisis. They were trying, in their clumsy way, to show they were listening. Melissa and I met for coffee one afternoon. She looked different, less polished, more real. She'd gotten a job at a nonprofit, doing pro bono consulting for small businesses in underserved communities. The pay is terrible, she said with a wry smile, but it turns out I'm pretty good at helping people who actually need it. Who knew? Character development looks good on you, I said, and she laughed. I've been thinking about what happened, she said, about how quickly everything I thought mattered just disappeared. The money, the status, the partnership, all of it was built on nothing. But you've been building something real all along. I got lucky, I said. I found work I love early. No, you made a choice. You chose meaning over money, and we all judged you for it. Especially me. I'm sorry, Alex. I should have defended you that night. I should have said something. You were excited about your opportunity. I get it. I was also a coward. I let them trash you because it made me look better by comparison. That's the truth. We sat in silence for a moment, watching people pass by the cafe window. Are you happy now? I asked. With the nonprofit work? I'm getting there. It's weird not having money or status to hide behind. But yeah, I think I might actually be becoming a real person, she smiled, learning from my big sister. 6 months later, I agreed to Sunday dinner, just once, to test the waters. I drove to that familiar house with its perfect hedges, but this time the tightness in my chest was manageable. I wasn't seeking their approval anymore. I was simply willing to see if we could rebuild something honest. Dad hugged me at the door, a real hug, not the stiff, obligatory kind. Mom had tears in her eyes. Melissa was already there, helping set the table. The meal was simpler than before, less performative. We talked about real things, my recent cases, Melissa's nonprofit clients, Dad's retirement plans, Mom's volunteer work at the library. At one point, Dad cleared his throat. I want you to know, Alex, we've set up a fund. For you, equal to what we gave Melissa. We should have split it evenly from the start. I shook my head. I don't want it. But I don't need it. And I don't want our relationship to be about money. If you want to invest in something I care about, donate it to my organization. We're always underfunded, but I'm okay. I have everything I need. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. When did you get so wise? When I stopped waiting for you to tell me I was enough, I said simply. The words weren't meant to be cruel, but they landed heavily. Dad looked down. Melissa bit her lip. Mom squeezed my hand tighter. Fair, she whispered. More than fair. We didn't fix everything that night. You can't repair years of damage over pot roast and apologies. But we started. Slowly, carefully, we began building something new. A relationship based on mutual respect rather than their approval and my desperate seeking of it. Melissa's firm partners were eventually convicted. The scandal made national news. Several senior executives went to prison. My sister was cleared of wrongdoing but carried the experience like a scar. She told me once that losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to her. I was becoming someone I hated, she said. Someone shallow and empty. I'm glad I got stopped before I went too far. My parents never fully understood my work, but they stopped judging it. They started volunteering. Dad with a financial literacy program for low-income families. Mom with a reading program for foster kids. They were trying to see the world through my eyes, to understand what I'd always valued. One evening, almost a year after that first dinner, Mom called me. I have to tell you something, she said. Do you remember Sophie? The little girl you mentioned once, the one you helped place? Of course. Why? She's in my reading program. I didn't realize at first, but she told me today that her caseworker's name was Alex. Then she showed me that rainbow picture she drew. She carries it everywhere. My throat tightened. She's doing well? She's thriving. Her adoptive family adores her. And Alex, she told me that you saved her life. She said she was going to run away before you found her family. She'd planned it all out, but you kept showing up, kept believing in her, and now she has a home. I was just doing my job. No. Mom's voice was thick with emotion. You were doing what we should have valued all along. You were changing lives. You were being a hero in ways we were too blind to see. I'm so proud of you. I should have said it years ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm so incredibly proud of who you are. I cried then, sitting in my modest apartment with its secondhand furniture and fraying curtains. Not tears of sadness, but of release. Of finally being seen for who I was and what I'd chosen to be. Karma hadn't brought justice through revenge or their suffering. It had brought it through revelation, forcing them to confront the hollowness of their values, the cruelty of their judgment, the blindness of their priorities. Melissa's fall had been the catalyst, but the real change came from them having to face what they'd lost when they dismissed me. A daughter who'd been there all along, doing meaningful work, building a meaningful life. I never gloated. I never said, I told you so. I simply continued being who I'd always been. Someone who chose purpose over profit, meaning over money, compassion over success as they defined it. And in doing so, I'd won something far more valuable than their belated approval. I'd won my own respect, my own peace, my own certainty that I'd chosen the right path. On my 30th birthday, my family threw me a small party, not at their house, but at a community center where I'd helped establish a youth program. My coworkers came, and some of the families I'd worked with, and Sophie with her adoptive parents. Melissa brought her nonprofit colleagues. My parents stood in the corner, watching me laugh with a teenage mom I'd helped get into college, watching me high-five a former foster kid who'd just gotten his first job. Dad found me later, tears in his eyes. You built all this, he said, gesturing at the room full of people whose lives I'd touched. This is real wealth, real success. I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. But you see it now, I said. That's what matters. The story could have ended differently. I could have been vindictive, could have rubbed their faces in their mistake, but that would have made me someone I wasn't. Instead, I'd simply step back, lived my life with integrity, and let the truth reveal itself. Karma isn't about cosmic revenge, it's about consequence, natural, inevitable consequences of our choices and values. My parents chose to value money and status, and they learned that both could vanish in a moment. I chose to value purpose and people, and I built something that couldn't be taken away. Years later, when people ask me about success, I think about that night, the night my parents called me a failure and gave my sister a fortune. I think about how that moment of rejection set me free, how cutting them off gave me space to grow into myself, how their judgment ultimately said more about them than about me. I think about Sophie's rainbow picture, still on my office wall, about the families reunited, the children saved, the lives changed, about work that pays modestly but means everything. And I smile, because I know something they took far too long to learn. The only approval that matters is your own. The only investment that pays eternal dividends is in other people. And the only real failure is living a life that betrays your values. They called me a failure. Life proved them wrong. And I didn't have to do anything but keep being exactly who I'd always been. That, in the end, was the sweetest victory of all.